Hello, this is Steve. This is my rock and metal life, for better or for worse. And here's what I have chosen to do with it. Today is one of the great days on the calendar, and it's actually not on the calendar, it can happen any day. Today's the day after a show, today's the day after a great concert. And it is a beautiful Saturday morning. As you see, I have my Rock Believer shirt on. I went and saw the Scorpions last night with the crew, and it was an excellent show, not just because of how well they played and everything, but also a little bit to my surprise. Uh, you never know anymore when you go to these shows. These guys are getting up in age, all of them, all the bands. Scorpions did not disappoint in any way, and I have to say Klaus's voice was absolutely fantastic. Uh, Last time I saw him, 2017, they actually ended the tour that night after that show because he was having voice troubles. And as good as that show was, he didn't sound great. And I remember at the time thinking, it was 5 years ago. And I was thinking, well, that voice, you can't expect that to hold up. Boy, last night he was terrific. So I'm going to go through my history with the Scorpions a little bit and then go through the set list. Um, I didn't realize this till this morning. I've seen the Scorpions now 6 times, and the first go round was up in Washington. They came out with a record worldwide live, and then they toured for it, and pretty much played the record. They played that set list, and we had Rat on the Invasion of Your Privacy tour, and we had a band called Victory that night. And set list says Bon Jovi was there, and I forget a lot of things, but I don't believe I forgot that. But anyway, Rat was terrific, and then Scorpions was just fantastic. This is 1985. This is, if you saw them back then, man, they were all over the place. They're still high energy, even last night, but nothing like that. You can't do a show like that, for too long. They were wonderful. Second go round, 1994, and this was a show with King's X, and this was up here in Fresno. And odd memories of this show because I have long had a policy. I just don't drink at shows. I don't do any alcohol just for I'm all in on the music. I want to see everything. I don't want to the good feeling I get with alcohol, maybe take me away from, what I would be paying attention to. And I have no problems whatsoever. I know most of the people there are going to be drinking. My friends drink. I'm around it all the time. I'm not judging anybody. I don't have any problems with it. I know when I go to a show, whatever goes on around me, that's part of the show. So I don't have any problem with it, but just me being the way I am, I don't want to forget anything. I want to do something like this. I want to have these kind of memories and stuff. And I really don't want to happen what happened on this night. The local radio station did a pre-show party at the Holiday Inn right across the street from the venue, and I was drinking at home. I drank at the pre-show, and then somewhere along the line, I figure, hey, it's about time. Let's head in there. And I go in, and King's X is already playing, and that's really not me. I drive my family crazy with, we're one of the first 10 cars in the parking lot, and we go in and we go to our seats, and there's less than 100 people in here, and if we want something to drink, or eat, there's no lines because we're always early. And oh god, on this one I drank and drank and drank, and then we went to the show, and this is just the crap part of it. Not only am I late for King's X, a band I love, and I was telling everybody, hey, I'm going to this show to see King's X, so I'm late. And then we had seats in the middle of, probably 25 seats, and we were like, seats 11 and 12 or something like that. And I went to the bathroom approximately 97 times. And I just, get up, past everybody, come back with a beer, past everybody, missing who knows how many songs. And like I say, I know a lot of people at a lot of these shows. You see during the show, they pick a song, like a new song or something. They go to the bathroom, and I never do that. I'm always, if I'm in a seat, I'm always in my seat, in my spot the whole show. Not on this night. This night it went off the rails, and it's kind of strange because I had going back to the military, I had stopped drinking at concerts, years before, and I don't know why I did this on that night. Pre-show party, hey, So anyway, that's sadly that's what I remember from that show, and that was on the Face the Heat tour. Next go around was in 1999 on the tour for this record, which I really didn't care for at the time, but over time it's kind of gotten, it sounds a little better now than it did then. And this show, interestingly enough, this was on August 8th of 99. So this is just about 2 weeks before Aaron was born. And my wife was pregnant out to here. And it was one of those ones that I said, hey, we bought the tickets, and, we knew the time frame we knew was critical. And I just said, I'll get the tickets, and if she doesn't want to go, I'll go with somebody else. And she ended up wanting to go, and that's great. But then going up and down the stairs was everybody noticed us, and I don't know how I should feel about that, So what we did was, this was Scorpions and Motley Crue flip-flopping the headline spot, and Scorpions played first, and we saw their set, and we had all the Motley Crue crazies around us and everything. And then after they were done, we took off, and we just, we'd seen Motley Crue so many times, in a stretch where Tommy Lee came back, and, Motley Crue was getting out there, and going back to when they had Randy Castillo, and we had a stretch where we saw Motley Crue, over and over. And it was like, let's just go home, get out of here. This was great. So that was that. That was fine. I remember Scorpions were really good. I remember leaving there saying, yeah, that show hasn't changed. They're still really good. Then on the tour for this record in 2004, the Unbreakable, really, really good record right here. I liked it at the time, and I played this morning while I was going through all this stuff, and that record holds up pretty good. This show in 2004, they were with Tesla and Keith Emerson, and I forgot about this show until this morning. I kind of blanked out on, and I remember I've been listening to a lot of Emerson, Lake and Palmer lately, and I remember a couple weeks ago I was thinking, man, I remember seeing Keith Emerson, and he had his keyboards all around him, and he did all this, magical stuff, and he played the harmonica and gave it to a guy in the audience and all that. And I remember a couple weeks ago I was thinking, God, who was that with? I remember he was one of the opening acts for somebody, and it was in a big arena, and it was this one. It was them and Tesla and Scorpions. And Tesla is another band. There's three bands for my wife and I. Tesla, Motley Crue, and LA Guns. Man, you put them together, and we've probably seen them 30 times at least. All added up. They keep coming around here over time, and we keep going, and we went out of town to see them a bunch of times and everything. But anyway, there was Tesla. They were fantastic as always, and the Scorpions were real good that night as well. I don't see anything in here. The Still Loving You was an encore for that one, so that's cool. We're going to mention that later. And then 5 years ago, and it doesn't seem like it, in 2017, almost to the day, it was, and according to this, it was to the day. October 7th of 2017, we saw at the LA Forum Megadeth and Scorpions, and this is the one I mentioned earlier, where at the end of the show it was announced that that was the end of that was the end of the tour because Klaus was having trouble with his voice, and again it was the band had the energy and all that, but I did notice that there was two things. Number one, I was there for Megadeth, and I'm kind of late to the dance on Megadeth, even though I liked them in their day in the Peace Cells and Rust in Peace and Countdown in that era. I liked them, but I really wasn't all in like I was with Van Halen, Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions. Um, and prior to this show, I had I'm in. I finally got where I should have been all along, and I knew all the songs and everything. And so that show to me was the Megadeth show. And honestly, I Scorpions wasn't all that big a deal, and only because Megadeth was also on the bill, it really dwarfed the Scorpions in my mind. And I could have left after Megadeth. I was just stoked to have seen them. And Scorpions came out and they played good. And I remember thinking, man, these guys, that act, it doesn't change, and the catalog is just ridiculous. The song after song after song that you just love. And it was good, but again, Klaus wasn't, really up to par, and so they canceled the rest of the tour. And that leads us to last night as far as my journey. And, this was a Friday night, and that's kind of rare around here to me. It seems like whenever I go to a show, middle of the week, something like that. And this one here, I left work kind of tired because it was kind of a stressful day, and I was on the go a lot. And I get here and we're getting ready to go, and feel the adrenaline and all that, and we head over there, and there's a pretty good line of cars to get in, and then there's lines at the doors, and almost right away I see one of my coworkers inside. So it was the big concert feel and community. Saw a bunch of the stadium shirts, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Poison, a bunch of those. But it's good to see, there's a Dio shirt, there's a Van Halen shirt, there's, it's good to see all that stuff. And so the opening band was called Thundermother, and they were four women from Sweden, and they were a good, I guess you'd say, straight ahead rock band. They were pretty good in that slot. They were pretty good opening band. It wasn't anything that just blew you away. The singer's voice was incredible. It was just a really strong. You got to do the comparables, I guess, and I'd probably go Ann Wilson, something in that. It wasn't Pat Benatar, it wasn't Joan Jett. It was. She was a good singer, great singer, I would say. Songs are pretty good, more straight ahead rock and roll than anything. And they did their thing well, and there was a decent amount of people in the arena when they started, and there was a bunch when they finished. And they played about 40 minutes, which I thought was a little long. Not really like long, like, oh my God, but I that's pretty good for an opening act that nobody's really heard of. And so they did their thing and they left. And then Scorpions came on. And if you haven't seen the videos, they have like all the other big bands that do arenas and stadiums, they have the video boards, and if you're all the way in the back anymore, you still see on the video board what's going on, and you get the benefit of the lights, But anyway, they had the big backdrop initially was, like a giant scorpion kind of like coming at you. But the way they did their opening, they got the curtain up there that we're all kind of used to. They do whatever intro and then the curtain drops and there they are. And they actually had two curtains. So the band, they came up, where you can't see them. They're right up against the curtain. And they started the intro for the first song, which was Gas in the Tank from the new record, Rock Believer. And so they just start, there's some lights behind there come on. The lights go down in the arena, and then the lights come up back there, but you can't see them. And they just start playing the song, and then the first curtain drops, and we're used to that being the curtain, it drops and there's the band. But for them, the first curtain had, like the Scorpions logo on it, and they start playing the song, and it drops, and then there's a second curtain, and it said something like, "Are you ready to rock?" or something, Scorpions logo, something. And then they play a little bit more, and then that one drops, and then there they all are. And they're playing Gas in the Tank, which is a good opener. And this whole set, I gotta say, was arranged just perfectly. Okay, I think this is a really good strategy. Gas in the Tank, I don't know how many people in the audience have the record. I don't have it. I'm familiar with the song because I've seen it on YouTube, and I watched a concert a couple weeks ago to get an idea what they look like. And it's a good, it's a banger from the new record. And I think that's a really good strategy. The crowd's going to be all amped up and everything, and you want to play one of your new songs. You want to play your new songs on the tour anyway. You don't, I think for the most part, they don't just want to be legacy bands. They want to get their new stuff out there. That's perfect. Play it, right off the bat when everybody's all going crazy. And, so what if, people aren't singing along? They're into it. Everybody's on their feet, pumping their fists and everything. And it's a good song. It's a good opening song. So they do that. And then they go into Make It Real, which that seems to be a staple of the set. And it seems like it's always up near the front. Then another genius move, I think, they played The Zoo. And, 3 songs in, you get The Zoo. And it's like, that can be an encore, For me personally, The Zoo is on my list of songs that, I probably don't ever have to hear it again just because it's overplayed. Not anything wrong with the song at all. I loved it. I loved it for probably 20, 25 years. But it's right there with Rock and Roll All Night and Carry On Wayward Son. And as brilliant as it is and as much as I loved it, I've just heard it too many times. However, live, it's a killer, absolute killer. And to give them that up front, like early on, get that thing in there, excellent. And they went from The Zoo, they morphed into Coast to Coast. And that's another, it's an instrumental they've been doing forever. And it's like simple, straightforward, but it's, kind of like grandiose, majestic. They keep doing this riff, and, Klaus goes away and he comes back and he's playing a guitar too. And I never get tired of that, and I that's one of my great memories from the 85 show was seeing those guys do that, seeing them in their spandex, doing the thing. And they were, it was like they were doing like, back and forth with each other. Excellent. Worked out perfect. Okay, then they went into Seventh Son and Peacemaker, and these 2 songs are from the new record. And Seventh Son's a good one. It's like a grinder. Good song. Peacemaker, when I watched that concert video a couple of weeks ago, I clued into that one. I liked the song, and I liked the production, what they did with the lights and everything. And I took note of it. I really liked the song, and it went over real well last night. And, these aren't songs that, hey, we're going to do a song from the new record, and, it looks like the show ended. Everybody goes up to go to the bathroom or whatever. These kept everybody engaged. And so after Peacemaker, they did Bad Boys Running Wild, one of my all-time favorite songs of theirs, from Love at First Sting. That could be an opener. That could be an encore. Or you can do it right in the middle where you're, just hitting everybody between the eyes. I mean, it great song. Love that riff. And again, it's a banger. It's kind of up tempo. It's kind of a grinder. Perfect. Klaus's voice, perfect. Okay, then they went in and they did Delicate Dance, which is an instrumental, and I was not familiar with that. And it's, they got acoustic guitars up there, and I didn't know what it was when they were doing it, but I liked it. And I've checked out the video of them on MTV Unplugged, and it's that's a good one. That's good. And what they did here, again, another genius move, if you ask me. You come out of, Bad Boys Running Wild, and then you do Delicate Dance, and then they go right into the ballads. It's Send Me an Angel and Wind of Change. And these ones, they get all the cell phone lighters, all the crowds sing along, do these things right together, right in the middle of the set. And they went perfectly. They went over, probably, I bet a lot of people are walking around today saying either of those were the best part of the night. For me, the best part of the night's always, something up tempo and crazy. But, we know the Scorpions, they have monster ballads in their day, and there they are. So they gave them that, and then they come out of that with another song, almost like whatever I said about Bad Boys Running Wild, same thing. Tease Me, Please Me. Love that song. And again, it's Bad Boys Running Wild, Tease Me, Please Me. Brainless. Who cares? The lyrics or whatever. But man, they just smoked the audience with that. And then they went into Rock Believer, which is perfect. So there you go. I think you got 4 songs from the new record right there. And just the way they weaved them in is just, it just, there wasn't any letdown. There wasn't any, oh man, new song. It just didn't feel like that at all. So they do Rock Believer, and then they did New Vision. And that is an instrumental. It starts out with the bass, and the guy on bass, and I'm sorry I don't know his name. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was terrific. He was a really good showman and everything. And he comes all the way out to the front and he does his bass thing. And then Mickey D, the drummer, he goes into a solo, and the whole motif of this show and this tour, I guess, they got this Las Vegas theme, and behind Mickey D, on the big screen, it would go into the fabulous Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas, that iconic sign everybody knows. And Schenker, Rudy Schenker, his guitar was all decked out with all this Las Vegas stuff. And that's kind of like the theme of the show. Well, Mickey D did this thing, and if you haven't seen it, you got to check out a video of it. He did his drum solo, and then they make the thing behind him, they make it into a slot machine. And the way he does his drums, you got the thing where you got however many rollers there are, like 6 of them, and he would hit the drum, and the one would stop, and another one stop. And he did it several times to where the icons on the rollers were like the Blackout guy on the cover, a scorpion, this, that, and then they had the cherry and all the traditional things you see on slot machines. But he did it to where he would go through them, and they would stop one by one, and they just miss, they just barely miss, having them all the way across. And then of course, on the last one, it's scorpions all the way across. It's cool, really cool. Drum solos aren't for everybody. There's another deal where some people, I'm gonna go to the bathroom or get another beer. And it was cool. It was entertaining. It was really neat. So then after that, we're talking about a high level show already. The next song's Blackout, which for me is, that's what I'm there for. Blackout's probably my favorite song of all time of theirs. So they do Blackout and they do Big City Nights. Look what they still got in the holster at this point after doing all this. They do Blackout and Big City Nights. And then for the encore, we know they're going to do No One Like You and Rock You Like a Hurricane. But again, ace move, perfect move. They, and I don't know if anybody does it anymore, but the old nonsense where people would go away and you got to yell and scream or else they're not coming out. Well, they're coming out. They're going to play Rock You Like a Hurricane. How could they not? And No One Like You. They didn't really do that. When they finished Big City Nights, and that was everybody singing along. That was everybody going crazy. And then they put down their instruments and they came out and shook hands with everybody, all the lights up and everything, and giving out picks and drumsticks and all that. And then they went away just for a second. Just for a second, they disappeared just for a second, just to get a bottle of water or something, just real quick. And then immediately they came back out and they did No One Like You and Rock You Like a Hurricane. And that's what I have to say to that. That was a great show. And I'm a guy that's as you probably heard, I'm a little cynical about, how everything's going to be. How's it going to sound? I got this constant thing in my head. Should some of these guys just give it up? Is it over? Well, if, the singer's terrible, but boy, those songs are so good. If the fans want to hear them, should they do it? None of that here. This is a great show. This is a fantastic show. I would highly recommend it if you're thinking about going, but you don't know if it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. So anyway, that was it. I think you can probably say I'm really enthusiastic about this one. And I'm not always, even when they're good shows lately, sometimes, that's the curse of having seen so much and so many shows, and I go to them a lot. It's kind of hard to shock me or blow me away, good or bad. And of course, the biggest curses I saw of these guys in their day. And again, I got the 1985 Scorpion show. I've got that. I remember that better than, I forgot about that Keith Emerson. I mean, I remember the 85 Scorpions better than, shows I saw like 7, 8 years ago. And it had it didn't put any kind of damper on this. It was great. And I think the question that we always ask, myself and Aaron, well, what's it supposed to look like when they're in their 60s and 70s? Boy, I hope it looks like this. This is what I'm always, when I go to the arena, this is what I'm hoping for. And it was good. They were, they didn't do the absolute, Olympic sprinter running around. But they were always running every time they went here, there, or anywhere. They were always doing like this little jog, all of them. And so, it gives you that appearance of a frenzy, and there's a lot of action up there. And plus you got, the lights are just top notch. So my 2017 bootleg Scorpions shirt back there, that was a good show. This was a great show. I'd really highly recommend it to anybody. So that's it. We'll talk about something soon here after a bit.